Welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and wow, we got another absolutely fantastic show coming your way today. And I want everybody to sit back, take heed, because the topic that we're going to talk about today is, I think, is something that's so important to each one of us, and it's called kindness. Kindness costs nothing. Kindness is free. What I mean by a lot of people, I guess us, sometimes all of us, sometimes that things that's little things just get in the way, and sometimes we react in a negative way, and it could be causing harm to others just because we might not be feeling a certain way today, just be or whatever that might be. But by being kind to someone, it's free, and I tell you, I can't even start this without bringing my executive producer and co-host, Dr. Michelle Cooley, to help discuss this topic a little bit. How you doing, Dr. Cooley?
I'm doing good, doing good. Yeah, it's a simple just topic. Is kindness is free. I'm really interested in hearing what this guest today is going to talk about. And he's been a basically honorary guest for our show. He's been on multiple times, so we're really excited about it.
Yeah, he's been on 7 times already,
Probably
and
more
but
than
yes,
that.
maybe more. But he brings. He's a young guy.
Mhm.
Uh, Wisdom already has reached the treasure of wisdom, and he's here to share with us again today about kindness costs nothing. It's free. So, Michelle, I want to get started, but first of all, if you guys want to be part of this conversation that we're going to have, all you have to do is just go to the comments, whichever mechanism you're watching this on, was it E360 TV, was it LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, whatever. You can ask this young man any questions that you want, and we'll get you an answer. Michelle, I'm ready to get this started. So, can you please introduce the title of the show, purpose, and this great guest that we got on?
Oh, yes. Again, the title of the show is Kindness is Free. And getting to know assistive technology professional, Yale University's Associate Director of the Student Accessibility Services and published audiobook producer Jordan Colbert. We're going to talk about how life isn't rainbows and butterflies and why it's okay to not be okay and why we should do no harm and how the golden rule still applies. Let's talk about a little bit about our guest today, Jordan Colbert. He's from Lays Landing, New Jersey, and at his and it's a small town outside Atlantic City. So Jordan was raised by his older sister who placed a strong emphasis on education. It was this that helped propel him to receive a degree in classical studies from the University of Pennsylvania and a master's in marriage and family therapy at the University of Southern California. He did his clinical work in high schools and substance abuse clinics as a psychotherapist and as a research intern at the Mindsight Institute in Los Angeles, California. After receiving his degree, he then moved to supporting students with disabilities through the use of technology at USC. He's credentialed as an assistive technology professional by Resna and serves as the Associate Director of the Student Accessibility Services for Yale University. He presented at multiple national conferences on the importance of assistive technology for individuals with disabilities and consulted with companies to increase their digital accessibility presence and products. He's produced 2 audiobooks, and I'm sure more are coming. Up from the Bottom, memoir by Isaac Ford Jr., and Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by Dr. James J.C. Cooley. Welcome back to the show, Jordan Colbert.
Welcome back, Joey. Yeah, man, I miss having you on, man. I mean, I know that you're so busy at Yale, and it's kind of hard for us to fool you away, man. But it's an absolute pleasure having you back, my friend.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be back. I mean, I can always try and fit some time in here to share some information and get a nice little chat with you, JC. Always a pleasure.
Always. Hey, man, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit more about you and what you do? And I know you do so many things, and we weren't able to pile all that into that paragraph and a half, but can you give them a quick intro?
Yeah, I'd love to. So, a little bit about kind of like what I do And my role, so I am a disabilities professional, where I work and I provide, academic accommodations to individuals with disabilities across the board. But I also work to kind of navigate a lot of the systems and help them out as they're in the collegiate world. And so that's just really my primary role now that I work with Yale. But in addition to doing that work, as a full-time job, I also do a lot of work outside in the fields of mental health advocacy, also a lot of work around the just increasing literacy and increasing education, around the board, because as Michelle said, it's something that's really fundamental to me. But it also, intersects with the mental health world, and allowing people to really, just reach their fullest potential despite the barriers they might run into.
Wow. You always bring these great topics and, just educate us so much. And just like I always say, you probably about 30, 40 years ahead of your time. Wisdom is already there. A lot of people are always in search of it, but never reach it, because
Yeah.
they let things get to them and just lose focus. But you right, life isn't rainbows and butterflies. Can you share more about your work and projects and what you mean by that statement?
Yeah, I'd love to. So, in my day-to-day work and in the advocacy work and the additional, avenues of work that I do, a lot of the times I'm coming across individuals who may be struggling, whether that's struggling academically because of, their disabilities and the barriers that might be presenting. But I also work, outside and in my interactions with, whether it's audiobooks or working with other mental health organizations out there. A lot of the time, what I'm really realizing is that people are struggling. The world is not always going to be this simple place that's beautiful and happy for everybody. And in a lot of cases, everybody is struggling with something behind the scenes, whether, it's something that completely derails maybe your mental health and puts you in a situation where there's a mental health disability or mental health diagnosis that's happening for you. Or, it can still just be somebody's having a pretty bad day. Life is not throwing them the simple softballs that it's usually throwing. The day to day has been disrupted. And so I really like to start. I'm a big person that focuses on metaphors and mantras. And life isn't rainbows and butterflies. And that's something that, really stands out to me, because it's a reminder that I always have to tell people that we're going to run into struggles, but we can
What are
overcome them.
We can overcome struggles, but you just mentioned something, and people sometimes focus on the wrong thing because they think everything is going to be, rainbows and gold is at the end of that. Let's talk a little bit more about that. What would you, some of the people that you run across, what are some of the recommendations that you share with them that might get them to think that, hey, there are going to be tough times, you know, every now and then, but we don't have to stay in that tough time zone. We just have to figure out a way moving forward. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's something that is universal, that everybody struggles with, because when life is happening, it's really important to be present. That's one of the most important things that we've come to learn about, mental health and actually being engaged and creating real connections, is being present. But sometimes being present means that you're also going through something in that moment. And it's something that I've taken from the idea of suicide prevention, that I've told them often. And it doesn't even have to be in the vein of suicide when I'm talking with these individuals, but it's the idea that whatever's happening now, the things that we're doing are short-term solutions. It's not a always, the world is not always one thing, because one thing that's constant, no matter where we're going, no matter what is happening, is that life is changing. Change is a constant throughout existence. And so when I'm meeting with someone who might be going through some of the most difficult experiences of their life, the idea is that this is a momentary point in life. Same as, when you might have had a very happy experience that was momentary, and that happiness might carry through for a little while. You'll still be happy. But at the end of the day, things are changing constantly. Something else might come to make you happy. And so as we sit here, it's really looking beyond the current moment and knowing that the future is going to be different than the present.
So, as many of us have this attention span, and we, just like I mentioned a minute ago, that we don't think about the same thing. We don't think about that there is a path, regardless of whatever we are at and that we're going through, that there is a solution. There is a solution. And sometimes you can't do it by yourself. You have to come to others. And we cannot be afraid to reach out for help. A lot of us just want to be stubborn, not do that.
Yeah.
But I tell you, Jordan, what we're going to do, we're going to take a station break, because when we get back, we're going to talk about the mental health portions of this. And if you want to be part of this great conversation with this great man, all you have to do is just go to the comments on whatever platform and just ask him any question you want to. It's your life. We'll be back shortly after the break.
I never wanna leave. Yeah, I'm right where I wanna be. It's something you and me, and I can't get rid of this feeling. Just like a magnet, we're just like a magnet. The things we have can be taken for granted. Now I know that it has always been you. I can't help it, I'm so drawn to you. Just like a magnet, we're just like a magnet. The things we have can be taken for granted. Now I know that it has always been you. I can't help it, I'm so drawn to you. Hey, I'm so drawn to you. I'm so drawn to you. Yeah, yeah.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I tell you, one of my favorite guests in the world, and as a regular, stay front on the James Cooley Show, has always been for the last 2.5 years, and it's just an absolute pleasure having him back. Where he's gonna come and just share all of these little nuggets and all this wisdom with us, and teach us a lot of things. So if you want to be part of the conversation, just go to the comments. Ask Jordan any question that you like, and I promise you he'll get you a great answer. Hey, Jordan, I want to talk a little bit. How does that intersect between your background and mental health? I know you started on that a little bit a second ago, but as we know, mental health is a major issue in the United States and all around the world.
Yeah. And I mean, my whole life really has kind of built me up to the experience of mental health because, the areas of New Jersey that I'm from, there's a lot of issues in terms of mental health with substance abuse, individuals, suffering in silence, and then a lot of other, things happening there. But that, my experiences as a therapist have really given me a good perspective on what is going on with individuals, across the board, because I've done therapy work with students in high schools. I've done, the counseling aspect from a disabilities perspective with students in college. I've worked with substance abusers, outside of this from all ages. And the thing that I'm constantly seeing also, in my audiobook work, I've heard stories, just these incredible stories of just things that people have gone through. And so, my background in mental health really helps me to meet everyone, whether it's, a person on the street or somebody who's come to me for some assistance, really at the place that they're at and experiencing what they're experiencing and not judging them, because that's the most important thing. If somebody's reaching out for help or telling you their story, judging them is only going to put more shame on top of them. And that just adds on to the whole experience that they're struggling with to begin with.
Wow. So you mentioned audiobooks, and you know that you did my audiobook last year.
Mm-hmm.
And
it was a great book.
It
was a great book.
Great book. And anybody out there that you're looking for a producer, director of your audiobook, Jordan is one of the best in the business. And I tell you, one of the best in the business are getting your story out there. So I'm probably going to be sending people your way real soon, Jordan.
Well, that's great. We just finished a project over here. It's called Gifts in Brown Paper Packages. So it's another story, just like I was saying, just like JC's story over here. It's you really get to learn about what life is like for individuals, and you can really expand just from knowing what someone's real story is about to the people in their community, to the people who are, going through similar things in different communities. It's really very powerful to just learn somebody's story.
And you're right, because no one really knows what's in a person's heart, or whatever took them to get their case in point success. A lot of people think that you can look at somebody and they are successful, that they had it the easy way. They probably were born that way. It's not like that, because I believe you have to go through something in order to get there. Sometimes you have to go through a mountain, or you have to go through whatever that's impeding. You can't go around it. You have to go through it.
Very true.
In order to be able to understand that there is more than one way to get to where you're going. So hey, Jordan, with all these things going on television, and you see 72-year-old people killing, I'm talking about going out, shooting people up, and 67, then all the way down to 18, 19. We've had so many issues with guns, and most of them, I believe, is a result of mental health. What are your thoughts, and what would you tell our viewers and our listeners about that?
Yeah, and I mean, this is something that's super poignant and super important for everybody to remember, is that first, individuals with mental health disorders or individuals with mental health issues, by and large, are not violent. Actually, it's a very, very small percentage. It's less than 5%. I think it's actually the concrete number is somewhere between 2 to 3% of violent crimes are committed by people with mental health issues. And so that's the first thing to think about is, if somebody has a mental health issue, that does not automatically mean that they are violent or that they're going to be a problem for you or cause you any problems. That's the first thing. And then the second thing to think about is that, we could catch these. We could stop all of these. Like, we're not going to stop everything. That's a Herculean task. But at the end of the day, if we are okay to reach out and say, I'm not okay, that's going to be a huge impactor on the way mental health plays out for someone. And so just getting that idea that it's okay to not be okay is something that's very important, and I think everybody should remember that.
Yeah, so I was going into the it's okay not to be okay. Let's talk about that a little bit more. Uh, uh, I like what you just said, and it's okay not to be okay, but we always have to have some type of solution or some type of plan or something that going to take the negative portion out of that. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that, I mean, it's very true that you do kind of need a plan. Now, the irony in that is that when you have a mental health disorder or you're going through such a stressful experience, you're going to have difficulties with planning. That's one of the number one, impacts of mental health disorders, is that difficulty with planning and executive functioning that happens when you have a mental health disorder. Um, and so that idea that it's something that we have to reach out about. Suffering in silence is not going to be okay. You're not going to feel better just because you don't think about it. Putting it out of your mind. To be honest, science shows that the more you think about it, the more you talk about it, actually the better you feel, and the more like you can get feedback to help your situation out, to help you plan, to help you take those next steps. And so that concept of the idea of really figuring out, okay, I just need to share that I'm not okay right now. There's no shame in being not okay.
So how can we identify if our friends or loved ones may be suffering in silence? Because you mentioned suffering in silence, and how could you? I mean, if what are some of the highlights a person noticing when something is happening to this person, because normally they do this and normally they do that, and they seem to be sad. Can we talk about that a little bit? Some of the signs that somebody, or your friends, especially your friends or your loved ones, are
Yeah.
suffering in silence.
Yeah, I mean, it's really something to notice is just first off, take inventory of what they're going through, in the sense of, if your friend has just experienced a loss, that's something that you might, just want to reach out and say, hey, here's my condolences. And their response can mean a lot. You can, if they don't respond, they might, be secluded. They might be closing off from other people. That could be a sign, they're withdrawing. If you have a friend that you're talking to often, or that, you're very close with, and all of a sudden they stop talking to you, or that there's things going on in their life, maybe somebody's sick in their family, or maybe, they just lost their job, or they're having relationship problems. Because when you have friends or loved ones, you check in on them, and just checking in on them can really give you some insight on what's going on to their life. And not everybody may be super open about what's happening with their life, but at the same time, you can notice little things. And it's interesting, a friend of mine just recently asked me this. They said, I deleted my social media, and all of a sudden all of my friends started reaching out to me saying, are you okay? Is something going on? And I was like, to be honest, that's actually beautiful, because you took yourself out of a situation that you might have been overloading you and causing you more stress. But people took notice, and they wanted to make sure you were okay, because that's out of the norm. That's not in your character. And so those, just those little things, little changes in their personality is important. But I guess a big thing that you can do to identify it is, first, just reach out. Say, hey, how are you doing?
Wow. So we reach out and we find out that our loved ones or our friends are in need of potential help. But we already know some of us are stubborn and we're not going to do that, especially the guys more so than the
Mm-hmm.
women. What are your suggestions? I know you run across this all the time. dealing with your patients and this. How do you convince them that it's okay to talk with others or seek out for help?
Yeah, and that can actually be the hardest part, really breaking through those walls or those stubborn, attitudes around this, around the idea of weakness. And the first thing is really to be consistent, because when somebody is stubborn about something, they might get irritated that you keep suggesting something, but it sticks. It leaves a message in their brain. It's almost like it plants a seed. So that idea of just, hey, you seem to be struggling. It's okay for help. I'm here. You seem, do you need an ear? Do you need somebody that, can listen? What's going on in your life? Kind of taking that deeper step, but then also providing resources. So although somebody might be stubborn and say, I don't want your help, if you send them a list of, hey, here's some therapists that, just might be fun, might be a good idea to check out. Here's some groups. Even if you're thinking, especially with men, one thing that I've noticed is if you can find a group that interests them, that can be really helpful, whether or not it's for mental health resources or not. Because just finding, camaraderie, that can really help with a lot of struggles, because you build friendships, and if your loved ones may not want to talk to you because they're, might be feeling shame, or they might be thinking, okay, I'm not weak. When they talk with other people, the more people they talk to, the more they realize I'm not alone.
That's the most important thing right there, is knowing that you're not alone. And you cannot conclude yourself by going over in a corner or just stand to the side, because then you start suffering more and more in silence. And then sometimes that creates a lot of thoughts that we don't want to even think about.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think we all go through things like that at one time or another. I'm sure I have, I'm sure you have, I'm sure a lot of people have at one time.
Yeah, one thing I like to tell people is like the idea, if you had a cut, a significant wound, you wouldn't expect it to just go away if you ignore it. Even if the pain is there all day, if you ignore it, it's not going to get any better. And this is the same type of thing. It's an emotional cut. It's a mental health cut. Your brain is a muscle, and that's something that people have to remember. If you wouldn't not tell your doctor about, a medical issue. So why would you, keep the other aspects internal?
Wow. This is great information. Jordan, we're going to take another station break. But I tell you, if you want to be part of this conversation, jump in the conversation. Let us know what you think. Just go to whatever platform you're watching this on and just go to the comments portion, type it in, get it on the screen. We'll be back shortly after the break. It's Your Life. I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley.
chance to know who you are. And once you know who you are, you truly know who you are, love who you are. Love who you are. You're a masterpiece. Love who you are. Love who you were born to be. Love me some me. That's what I'm talking about. When you leave high school, you gotta know today or tomorrow, hopefully today, what your plans are. Hopefully, there is no bad decision unless there is no plan. Create, collaborate, commit with confidence. Commit with what? Commit with what? In everything that you do.
Noah Dingley here, producer of The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. And the new audio version of James' book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet, is a must-have. James shares his true life story of struggle and success in America. It's both a cautionary tale and a roadmap to achieving the American dream. Get the new audio version of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James Cooley on Amazon.com or wherever audiobooks are sold.
Welcome back to the James Cooley Show, and just like I said, I got my very good friend here, Jordan Colbert, just educating us on a lot of things. This last segment, we were talking about some of the things that are, intersect with certain behaviors that we have, and wow, that was a very great discussion. And we're gonna pick it back up. And if you want to be part of this conversation, just go to wherever you're watching this at and just ask Jordan any question you like. Jordan, you write about do no harm. Do no harm. Can you explain to our viewers and our listeners what you mean by that?
Yes. So, do no harm. I feel like everybody in life has heard this statement: do no harm to others. And so it's something that I actually like to bring into my therapy. I like to bring it into just all of the aspects of work that I do, because in the end of the day, a real goal is to do no harm to others. And that's because there's no need to do that harm. And so something that actually really plays out in is the way that we interact with others. There's a lot of times now where, you can have a one-off interaction, or somebody may bring something to you, or it may just be something on the street that, you just weren't expecting, and people react. They react in a way that's going to cause more harm. So, calling people stupid all the time, not good, because whether or not they're struggling to comprehend something, they could be going through so many other things, but sometimes people make mistakes, and there's other aspects of things around that. But the general idea that I like to tell others is that you don't have to cause harm to others. There's nothing inside of you causing you to have to hurt others, whether that's physically or emotionally. And so keeping that in mind it really goes alongside the idea that kindness is free, because it really doesn't cost you anything to not do something.
Wow. So what's some of the other recommendations that you would share with our viewers and listeners? Because kindness is free, and do no harm, meaning that when you intentionally hurt others, and theoretically, you're hurting yourself as well, I think, because people are going to look at you. They're going to sit back and judge you and do all these other type of things. But actually, you put it out there because they forgot about what kindness is. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I think that's such a really important point that, when you bring harm into the world, it actually opens yourself up to harm coming back to you. Because you're right. When you're out here, whether it's pushing, just negative narratives, being negative, or really attacking others, just being harsh for no reason, what that does is that actually does impact the way your brain works. Because our brains, a big part of the way that we interact with each other is through a series of neurons in your brain called mirror neurons. And what those do is they allow you to predict and respond to the world. And so when you start putting these things out, your behaviors go out into the world, your brain is kind of forming to allow these pathways to continue to happen. And when you do that, others will respond in kind because they're picking up those signals that you're giving out, whether that's through reading stuff. Because nowadays, you can put something on social media and that could really impact a bunch of people. And, you're out there saying, this is, my opinion. I could say whatever I want and that's fine. But, you don't have to. And that's the real thing. You don't have to be negative. And, you can comment on things. Everybody has an opinion and you're welcome to have your opinion. But just remember, when you're writing something or you're saying something to someone else, think about, would I want someone to say this to me? And, yes, we all have different mindsets. And it's like, yeah, I don't care what somebody says to me. But ultimately, your brain does, regardless of whether or not you want to address that. Very similar to like the ideas of mental health, where it's like, yeah, you can put it away and say it's not bothering you. But in reality, it is. And it always will.
So is there any concrete science on the benefits of being kind to one another?
Yes, it actually goes right along with those mirror neurons. So when you're kind to another person, the body actually produces different endorphins than when somebody is being negative to you. Because when you're receiving negative messages, when you're receiving negative signals from the mirror neurons of other people, what that does is that then activates your stress response. It activates the fight or flight within you, because that's how the brain picks up that, that negative image is not good for me. And so your brain starts to accumulate stress. And so there is concrete science that shows when somebody is having a, uncivil discourse where you're not debating, you're not discussing, you're attacking, or you're being attacked, or you're just being very harsh. The way that your brain receives that is different than the way your brain receives positive emotions. And positive emotions create new positive pathways in your brain, whereas negative pathways and negative messages that you pick up actually kill pathways in your brain because of the stress. So that's some of the science that exists behind it. If you're really interested, Daniel Siegel has some great work on this.
I didn't know what they had concrete science. But Daniel Siegel.
Yes, Daniel Siegel. He's a great guy out in Santa Monica, California, one of the founders of interpersonal neurobiology.
Oh, absolutely. So, what do you think that says about the percentage or the present impacts or how people are communicating with each other today? I mean, it's so nasty sometimes with many. And
Yeah.
it's if it's politics, it's so partisan. And there is no common ground in many cases. I mean, at least this is my side, that's yours. And so it creates that friction or negativity because it's there. And kindness, just like you that the topic of the show, kindness is free. What is your thought on that?
To be honest, that's a huge issue in modern society, that we forgot that you don't have to destroy someone in a conversation. It's actually not even a conversation in many cases, where we're having these negative discourses, whether it's over the internet, whether it's in person, whether it's about politics. We can talk as individuals. We can meet each other on a civil ground. I've noticed one thing that really comes up in politics, or just, when others discuss politics, it's the idea that the other person is stupid. You're approaching someone with an idea where you're already closed off to hearing anything they have to say. When in reality, most people, regardless of politics, regardless of position, have some validity in the statements that they're saying. Now, sometimes you may feel like whatever they're saying is absolutely ridiculous, and that's fine. You can say, I can see we don't, agree. And it's not about being PC or being, nice to other people, or, just kind of softening things. What it really is we're not going anywhere. This division that we're in is because of the negative messaging. Because as I've said, your brain responds that way. And so when your brain is responding that way, it shuts down communication. You're not listening, and then it's only going to get worse. So, there is this idea that I'm right and I don't care what the other side thinks, or I don't care what anybody else thinks about what it is. And that's fine. You're entitled to that. But that does not mean you have to attack them. It means you can actually approach it with open ears and say, I want to hear what you're saying, and I want to see how this interacts with my belief.
Man, so, another good thing is it's sad and unfortunate that people go through the trials and tribulations of life, but a lot of people just say, hey, it's not my problem, and I'm not going to struggle with them. If we got people in our communities and we got people around us and they're having issues and concerns, I think it's all of our problems to do everything that we can to try to help solve whatever issues that is. What are your thoughts on that?
100% agree with you on that one, because in reality, no one lives in a vacuum. Unless you live, in the middle of a rural environment where you see someone maybe once a week or something else and you're completely isolated, maybe, you can go ahead and say it doesn't affect me. But in reality, the reason we have the problems we have today is because that's the approach. People said before, it's not my problem. I don't need to deal with that. Who cares about, famine somewhere else? Who cares if people are struggling with their mental health? That's not my problem. There's nothing I can do about it. When in reality, if we all recognize the interconnectedness of our decisions, the interconnectedness of society, well, we can do a lot in that aspect, because collective action is what makes change. Now, when we sit here and we dig our heels in the ground and say, why should I care about, the way somebody else struggles? I'm struggling myself. I don't have time to care about that. When in reality, if we allow these type of mental health concerns, if we allow these struggles, we allow these suffering in silence, we have suicide. We have, outbursts. And then the negative media looks at it and says, hey, look at these people. Look at what's going on. And it entrenches that idea. And then nothing gets better. Since school shootings really started getting popularity in the media, there's been more. It's not a coincidence. It's because when you allow these things to kind of happen and percolate, and then there's negative discourse around it, the people who are experiencing these problems internalize that. And it also becomes a bigger, outlet. It's something that they can do. They see this as, all right, that's the way that you respond to this. And no, as a collective, if we all care about things, if we all care about one another, the world becomes so much easier for all of us. All of us.
Wow. You're absolutely right, man. You're absolutely right. But we're going to come back. We're going to pick it up. We're going to pick it up, and we're going to talk some more. We're going to talk about the golden rule when we get back. So if you want to be part of this conversation, all you have to do is just go and just put your comments in. I get them on, and we'll get you an answer. It's Your Life. I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley. We'll be back shortly after the
Still looking over your shoulder, still working on your defense. By now you think it's all over, 'cause
founder and CEO of the J.C. Cooley Foundation, Options, Opportunities, Lasting Choice Program. Our primary mission is to help build a foundation of our youth and young adults and communities. And we encourage everyone to dream big, think big, and be big at everything you do. And the way that you do that is, first of all, you got to believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself. You have to know that you are here for a purpose. You also have to be able to step out your comfort zone and do things that you probably didn't think that you can do. Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and we got my good buddy, my good friend, Jordan Colbert here. We're talking about kindness is free. Kindness is free, and it is. And he is discussing and giving us some great tidbits on some of the things that we all should consider. We all should consider because no one have to really be mean to anybody. Just because you might have an issue or whatever that is, or whatever that is with you or them that you might think, we can all learn to agree or disagree with kindness. So we always be kind to others, because it affects everything. It affects you, certainly the other person that you've been negative with. It affect your community. It just affect the atmosphere. So, hey, Jordan, you talk about the golden rule and kindness is free. Can you explain to our viewers and our listeners what you meant by that?
Yeah. So we may have all remember this from our childhood. They said it all the time in school and everything, where it was, treat others the way you would like to be treated. And so that is the golden rule that I like to really operate under. I also like to tell, the individuals that I work with is that if you're upset about something, think about how you would like to be approached around this. If you're upset about something, or, you just don't care about something, if you were going up to someone to talk about how you care about something and they were like, leave me alone, I don't care, get out of my face, you wouldn't feel good. You'd be upset. You'd be pretty pissed off around that. And so when you think about it, when you put stuff out there and you do this, you're going to get that back. And so you want to keep that in mind, that this is, how would you like to be treated? And some people are like, I don't care. Treat me however you want, because, I don't care. Others are aggressive about it. And in reality, that's only causing you more stress. It's only causing you more impacts, because regardless of how you feel or how you think you feel, stress is happening. The brain is producing stress. There are many things that happen outside of your cognizant control. So, you may not care and you may want to be treated, negatively or bluntly, but at the same time, it's not doing any good for anyone.
So you explaining some of the reasons why someone might not be acting in accordance to the golden rule. What are some reasons that you would recommend that they need to do in order, because a lot of times, case in point, reaction, right?
Mm-hmm.
Reaction, the first little thing, even if a person ain't said anything, the negative reaction coming from you, or you divide. What's some of the suggestions or recommendation would you tell a person that they might want to consider and slow their roll before they make judgments on certain things and react negative?
Yeah, so that's something that is always very, very difficult. Reactions, because we all have different levels of impulsivity, and tolerance to other things. And sometimes you do need to react negatively. I'm not here to say that you should be nice and treat all situations with kindness, but for the most part, in areas where you're not being harmed, a way that you can really, really kind of like bring this out is to take a deep breath. Whenever you start to feel that, like, I need to say something, I need to respond, I need this, take a deep breath, because you may not recognize it, but when you start to get negative reactions or you start to react, your body speeds up, your breathing becomes shallow, your mind starts racing. And that's because your brain isn't getting enough oxygen. And so you may react and say, oh, I didn't mean to do that. It just happened. And that's because you didn't allow yourself that moment to fully process what was happening, to fully take this in. And so the number one thing is really take a deep breath. It's funny, I remember there was a comedian way back in the day that I was watching who said, next time you have a thought, let it go first and then bring it back. Because when you let it go, you get an opportunity to reflect and say, is that really what I want to say? Now, that's also, again, that's hard. It's hard to let these things go. But at the same time, if you are acting or responding negatively and you're recognizing, oh, I'm very reactive as a person. When you do react, when you're in those moments, take inventory and say, that was a reaction. Let me say what I really mean.
Wow. John, just a thought. So what roles with technology, and emerging technology that could be causing or making things more difficult in a regular norm environment or society?
Oh, whew. How much time do we have left? To be honest, a big thing is regular technology, social media, and the screen of a computer has changed the way we interact. It's real easy to just say something into the internet. But, think about it. The way I like to think about it is that the internet and things like social media, it's the difference between talking from your face to face or talking inside your house about something. And now social media is when you're standing on your porch yelling it. And if somebody was standing on their porch yelling out obscenities at someone else, you'd be like, wow, what's going on with that guy? Or what's going on with that girl? You wouldn't say, oh, he's got a good point. He's over here yelling about this stuff. And so you have to think, the way that social media has given us this, like, oh, well, I don't have to see these people. I don't have to talk to them, really. I can just say whatever I want about whoever I want, wherever I want, without consequences. And it's like, well, no, you can't, because everything you do has consequences. Everything in the world. It's a situation of choice. You make that choice to be out there on social media saying things that you want, and then your life may be difficult. And so technology is playing that avenue where it's making it easier for people to think that they can say whatever they want. That, and also the rise of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is awesome in the sense that it can do so many things, that at the same time, when we're not sure we're interacting with real people, or we're not sure, the information we're getting is correct, that's a problem, because that's influencing the way we're going to interact with actual people. And artificial intelligence, or AI, can really disrupt the in-between, the in-between communications that we have on a day-to-day basis.
Wow. We're down to about the last 3 minutes of the show, but I wanted to ask this question. With your expertise in assistant technology, do you see any technology being promising for supporting one another?
Yes. And it's something that really has come out of the pandemic. I've noticed it so much more nowadays. Actually, we're doing it right now. The concept of Zoom, the concept of FaceTime. Video messaging is a phenomenal platform, because what it does is it creates connection when you can't connect. And yeah, the connection is different. It's not the same as being in person. But, anybody who has a loved one who may be elderly or who may have difficulty leaving the house because of one reason or another, you see them light up when you call them on FaceTime and they see you. My mother is 69 years old, and when she's going through her day and somebody gives her a FaceTime, sometimes she almost cries, because she's like, I can't believe that I can see you and talk to you, even though I'm thousands of miles away. It's like that type of connection is so promising in helping one another.
Wow, Jordan, man, we can do this all day long. We out of time right now. But if our viewers wanted to get in touch with you or any of that, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so one way is to contact me via Twitter. My Twitter is at JOCOATP. Or you can send me an email. My email is JT and then my last name Colbert at opticityxp.com. Opticity is spelled OPISTIY. XP.com.
You know you got an open platform on my show, Jordan, and I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show again today. Looking to have you back again real soon. I'd like to thank Dr. Michelle Cooley, the executive producer, for putting together another great show. Most importantly, I'd like to thank our viewers and our listeners out there for tuning into the James Cooley Show. It's your life. I want everybody to dream big, think big, and be big. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. It's your life, Dr. James.